Our next presenter will be Eldur Olafsson from AEX Gold. He is the founder and CEO of AEX Gold Incorporated, a newly public Greenland-focused gold mining company. It owns licenses totaling 690 square kilometers in South Greenland, and its portfolio is centered on the 100% owned, past-producing Nalunaq gold mine. He holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Iceland and has worked around the world for 10 years in geothermal industry, oil and gas, and mining in strategic management positions, growing companies from inception to successful operations. Eldur, welcome to the stage. And I'll get this one. There you go.
Thank you. Hi everybody. Good to be here again. Easy. So yeah, I'll be speaking about, just see how this works, about AEX Gold and our licenses, the status, what we did this summer, and what we hope to achieve in the next 2 field seasons.
I think you will need to use the arrow because it's not a PowerPoint.
Okay, it's fine. Good. Oh yeah. So, yes, you said earlier, we are in South Greenland. South Greenland, you can see that we are quite close to a town called Nalunaq. So, effectively, when we go in there, we fly to Nalunaq. The closest town to that is Nalunaq and Kokadok, which was spoken about here earlier. Our licensing are covering the Nalunaq license, which is a fully permitted exploitation license. And then we have exploration license in Vana North and in Tartu. Okay. Our focus here is that what we have is that we have our asset in Nalunaq, which is a past producing mine, which we believe we can get into full production in the next 2 years. That will be our focus. It's high grade, which means that on average it was on 15.4 grams per ton diluted, which is extremely high. We have worked together with our partners and our team to understand a little bit better the structure of that deposit. That means that we're trying to understand the whole scale of it, how large it could be. And we have a fairly large potential in front of us in and around Nalunaq. We have about 20 to 30 investors that hold up to 90% of the stock. They're all quite supportive of the stock and have been following the capital ever since. And they're fully engaged in our plan to get this into full production. We have, including me, we have kept many of the management team or the people who were involved in the asset with our previous operator. So there's a continuation of the team from what was in the past and what is happening in the future. We now ran 2 programs under our listing. That's these 2 programs, they've had in and around 25 people at site, a lot from different nations, Iceland, Greenland, Denmark and Canada mainly. And our focus next year is to advance on that. One of the aspects there is that there were a lot of Greenlandic people working on this mine when it was operating, and we hope to benefit from that going forward as well. So our, as I said earlier, our largest shareholder is Cyprus Capital Partner, only 25% stake in the company. Our current share price is, well, it's actually a bit lower, but in around 0.3. We don't have a lot of trading on our stock. It's quite tightly held, but quite supportive. And the structure itself is fairly clean, so we don't have any warrants or any issues on the corporate structure itself. The team is set up on this picture here. So we have our chairman who's sitting here in Toronto and is dealing with all of our corporate development. We then have our CFO out of Montreal, and our project manager now for Nalunaq, which is Robin Menard, and he's also a director. He's stepping into more fully engaged role to start opening up this mine. So a little bit about Nalunaq. So historical production was up to a little bit more than 350,000 ounces from these 3 blocks there. You can see South Block, Target Block, and Mountain Block. And on this picture, you can see it fairly well. So the harbor is only 11 kilometers away, the distance there, and then there's a road all the way up to the mine, and then the mine has an opening through this portal that goes into it. You see on the picture there is this red line. That's where the main vein, this is outcropping. It's about a meter in thickness on average. And if you think about it, it's like a piece of paper that goes through the mountain there. And what our main focus has been is to understand the nature of this vein. How does it continue? We need to know it does continue to be able to mine more out of it. So we have now done work for, well, I want to say 3 years, and we have a resource of 263,000 ounces inferred, and we have an exploration potential there from 0.8 to 1.2 million ounces. That's the size of the area which is in and around the current mine working. It's quite important to focus on the infrastructure there. The infrastructure allows us to access a lot of these new ore zones. So now you're looking at the mountain, directly at the mountain, and you have the highest part there where you have these lines on the picture there. That's the mountain block, and then you have the target block and the south block, so it's the same picture. And what we have mainly been focusing on is how far does this main vein go, and in the current mine workings, how does it behave there? Where did they stop mining? So you can see that on this picture that they stopped mining in 720 level, and you can see that we have been following the vein all the way through. And then the south block, which is the lowest part there on the mountain, that's where you can see where we've done the drilling for the past 2 years as well. So we've been so successful in locating the structure there. We got some interesting grade, and we believe that our focus is to follow these grades through a program, which is 4-phase program, which will start this year. Where we start on surface and then we go underground for development and end up in production. So, sorry, that's over here. So this is our 4-phase program. This is again the same. The blue color there is to represent the vein as we see it and circularly. So you can see our first phase is that the vein is outcropping on surface next to a portal, which we are estimating to take out a bulk sample there for trial processing to make sure the processing of the ore works as we want it to work. We have past experience in processing the ore, so we pretty well know how it should be processed. So this could be somewhere between 1,000 to 4,000 tons of a fairly high-grade ore that we will be focusing on taking out Q3 this year, and the work starting in June this year. Then we are going to phase 2 and 3. There essentially we are doing in total in these 2 phases we are doing 1,200 meters in the ramps. Ramps is the spiral added that helps you get up and down the mine. And then we have strike drives, which are drives or adits that are on the vein on each level. Okay? And then on top of that we have more than 1,000 meters of development in the footwall to drill and understand the potential size of the deposit. So, in a long story short, we're trying to build a mine life longer than 5 years ahead of ourselves. We're building the infrastructure so we're able to start mining it out. And we're using the past data and the structure of knowledge we have to be able to do that. Okay? So, through series of these 3 and the 4 phases in the south block is essentially doing the same. So through a series of this work, our focus is to be in full production. Our goal is to be in full production in the next couple of years. And then we are also in line with what we have engaged with the government in terms of our addendums and our program. Okay? At this stage, I cannot tell you exactly how large the production will be or how large the resources is, because we simply don't know. And that's under Canadian security laws, I would probably get some yelling. On the Vagar, we've been working on Vagar now for, Vagar is the, as you can see there on the top right, you can see where the Nalunaq mine is. That's the dark red. And then the yellow areas are the Vagar licenses. And now I'm looking at the Vagar license, which is the larger yellow license. This is a very interesting license that we acquired from Nalunaq Minerals. It has extremely high-grade scrap samples and a fairly straightforward structural complex, over 10 kilometers. So we've been compiling data on this area now for more than a year, with 2 employees fully focused on that. We are working together with SRK Consulting on doing remote sensing over this area and some artificial intelligence for target generation. The plan this year or in the coming years will be to do some magnetic work over it that allows us to understand the structure there, and then following that we will be drilling. The idea is to create or find more deposits similar to Nalunaq or even potentially larger over this tenure. This is fairly highly prospective, and this is something that you can see which has a very similar geological characteristic as companies, very large companies are now looking into in Sweden and in Finland, and there are a lot of evidence that both in terms of age and deposit that is there. Here you can see one of the area that was drilled by Ole and his team in Nuna Minerals, and you can see they drilled through these two veins there that outcrops, and this is just to show you an example of how prospective and how good it is to explore in Greenland, is that there's not many places in the world where you can get such a good access to your deposits, similar to what was in Nalunaq. And these, so we're just scratching the surface there. They just simply drilled very small part of these two veins there. And the general idea is that the gold is situated in these quartz veins, very high grade, and then it filters into the granites around them. And if that's the case, then there's a potential for really large-scale deposits in this area, and that's what we're chasing. Okay. We then have Tartok license, which is a little bit earlier stage for us. This was a license that was first explored by Cominco for zinc or VMS deposit. We have done some initial work on these licenses, mainly the Nalunaq license, and we acquired a little bit more area. Again, this needs further work on understanding the wider area and the structural geology of the whole area, but what we are aiming towards later, or what would be the next stage of work, is to understand at depth these zones and understand if the veins and the gold veins are extending to depth. But as a priority, this is the kind of a more earliest license that we have. So what we have here is that we have a company that is high-grade gold, and this is what people are looking for in gold worldwide. We're working in a safe jurisdiction in Greenland, so that means that many different companies are dealing with difficulties in places where the government is not very straightforward and have a straight focus. We have a scalability potential in these licenses, meaning that we can find, or our focus is to find multiple deposit styles like that. We have an experienced management team, we've come on point, we've kept our schedule, and good shareholding group that is supportive of us. So we are very excited for the next couple of years to get ourselves into a cash flow generation, to be able to support our future exploration and obviously return capital to shareholders again. Thank you.